Okay, this video is going to look at place value and decimals. So when we look at how we've been learning it all along, we learned it without the decimals. So we know that the first column here is ones, the second one is tens and hundreds. And then it repeats itself as we keep going on. So 1,000s, 10,000s, 100,000s, and so on. But if we look here, it's slightly different. We put a 0 here at the front, followed by a decimal. And the first place value is actually called tenths. We do not call it oneths. That does not exist, and it's a common misconception for people. They get a little confused. But this is called tenths, the next one is called hundredths, and then the following one is called thousandths, and it also follows the same pattern, 10,000s, 100,000s, and so on. So let's look at some examples here. So if we look at 2.17, this is the ones column over here. So here's what it would look like if we had to do it as a fraction. You have 2, and you would have 1/10 plus 7/100ths. Okay, so because we cannot add these two right here because their denominators are different, we need to make this denominator the same. And in order to do that, you need to multiply this by 10. So now you have 10 over 100 plus 7 over 100, and that gives you 17 over 100. So then we ignored this at the beginning, so now it gives us an answer of 2 and 17/100ths. Okay, so there's one example. Here's another example we will look at today. This is a larger number, so we have 3 decimal places following. So this number over here, I'm going to draw little arrows, represents 4/10ths. This number here, it represents 7/100ths. And this number over here represents 8/1000ths. So this is how the fractions would look like for each one. And if you wanted to have all these denominators be the same denominator for all of these would be 1,000. And then for this one here, you would have to multiply this by 100 to get to 1,000. This would need to multiply by 10 to get to 1,000. And the last one will obviously stay the same because it is 1,000. So you would have 400 plus 70 plus 8, which gives you a grand total of 478 over 1,000, which is the number over here. And the 3 simply is the number 3. Here's another example that may be tricky. So we're going to look at 6.305, and the trick is going to be here's where some people will get fooled. So let's write this out. This right here is 3 over 10. This is nothing. We skip it. There's nothing there. So there is no number in the tenths column. We skip it. And this equals 5/1000ths. So now if we were to add these two together, your common denominator is 1,000. But this here is the only number that will get multiplied. So then we got 3 times 100, which is 300, plus 5, which gives us 305 over 1,000. Where people get mixed up is they make this number, or they will swap these two, or they'll mix them up, and they will not ignore the place value that is missing there. So we have to be very careful. So to review, this is what the place value will look like. So the numbers will get plugged into this chart. So if we had to look at some examples, if we had the number 0.005, for example, just follow the order, 0.005. If you had the number of 7.013, 7.013. And if you had the number of, say, 5.2, you would just do that. But really, 5.2 is actually the same as saying this. These two are the same, but we usually just don't write these decimals here. And it also works the same on the other side. So if you say you are 11 years old, you do not put the zeros before that. We know there's zeros before that, but we don't say I'm 00001 years old. We just get rid of these. We don't mention them. They're there, we just don't mention them. So here, same thing with decimals. So if you had the number of 3.450, 3.45, 0, or you would write it like this. This right here is the preferred method. We tend to not write them like this. It gets confusing, especially when you start doing more complicated math. I hope this video was helpful. See you in the next one. Bye.